The glass-walled boardroom on the 42nd floor buzzed with quiet arrogance, the kind that only money and power could cultivate over decades. Outside, the city glittered like a kingdom under their control, and inside, 12 executives sat around a polished mahogany table, confident, bored, and mildly irritated. At the head sat Evelyn Cross, a self-made billionaire CEO whose name could move markets with a single interview. Tonight's emergency meeting had been called because the company's flagship investment strategy, once praised as revolutionary, was bleeding millions. Analysts had failed, consultants had contradicted each other, and patience was wearing thin. As tension thickened the air, the soft squeak of a mop broke the silence. No one had noticed the janitor enter, a middle-aged man in a gray uniform, quietly cleaning near the door as he did every night. His name tag read Daniel, though no one bothered to look closely enough to care. Evelyn pinched the bridge of her nose, listening to yet another executive stumble through jargon-filled excuses, when her sharp eyes landed on Daniel. Something in her snapped, not anger exactly, but a cold, sarcastic impulse born from exhaustion and superiority. She raised her hand, cutting off the speaker mid-sentence, and pointed toward the janitor. "You," she said, her voice slicing through the room. Daniel froze, gripping the mop handle tighter. Every executive turned, some amused, others confused. Evelyn leaned back in her chair, lips curling into a faint smile. "Since no one here seems to know how to fix this mess," she said, gesturing at the financial charts glowing red on the screen behind her, "why don't we ask our janitor for investment advice?" A ripple of laughter spread across the table, polite, obedient laughter, the kind reserved for a boss's joke. Someone smirked. Someone else whispered, "This should be good." Daniel swallowed hard. He had learned long ago to be invisible, to clean quietly, to survive. He opened his mouth to decline, but Evelyn raised an eyebrow. "Come on," she said mockingly. "You must have an opinion. Step forward." His feet felt heavy as he walked toward the table, the mop left behind like a discarded shield. The room expected embarrassment, maybe a few broken words, a joke they'd laugh about later over drinks. Daniel stopped, looked at the screen, then at the executives, and finally at Evelyn. His voice, when he spoke, was calm. "You're not losing money because the market is volatile," he said. The laughter died instantly. "You're losing money because you're chasing certainty in a system built on uncertainty." A strange stillness settled over the room. Evelyn's smile vanished. Daniel continued, his eyes steady. "Your strategy assumes past performance guarantees future behavior. It doesn't. Markets punish arrogance faster than ignorance." One executive shifted uncomfortably. Another frowned. Evelyn straightened in her chair. "Go on," she said quietly, no trace of mockery left. Daniel took a breath. "You overleveraged on assets that looked safe because everyone agreed they were safe. Consensus is usually the most expensive illusion in investing. Real opportunity hides where fear and logic intersect, not where comfort lives." He pointed, not rudely, but deliberately, toward the chart. "This dip isn't the problem. Your refusal to adapt is." Silence. You could hear the hum of the air conditioning. The board members stared at him as if the mop had transformed into a mirror, reflecting their blind spots. Evelyn felt something unfamiliar tighten in her chest, not fear, but recognition. "Who are you?" she asked. Daniel hesitated, then answered simply. "Someone who learned the hard way that money listens to discipline, not ego." She stood up slowly, eyes never leaving him. "You said this was a joke," one executive whispered nervously. Evelyn ignored him. "If I gave you 10 minutes, she said to Daniel, "could you explain how you'd restructure this portfolio?" Daniel nodded once. "Yes. But you won't like all of it." A corner of her mouth lifted, not in amusement, but respect. "Good," she said. "I'm tired of liking things that don't work." Chairs scraped back as executives leaned in, phones forgotten, pride shaken. Daniel spoke for the next 10 minutes like a man who had waited years for a door to open, dismantling assumptions, proposing leaner, risk-aware strategies, emphasizing long-term resilience over short-term applause. When he finished, no one clapped. They didn't need to. The room felt different, quieter, humbler. Evelyn exhaled slowly, as if releasing years of pressure. "Meeting adjourned," she said. As the executives filed out, stunned and silent, she turned back to Daniel. "You're not a janitor," she said. Daniel picked up his mop. "No," he replied. "But tonight, I was willing to be treated like one." She nodded once. "That ends now." As he walked back toward the door, the city light seemed less distant, as if something massive had shifted, not just for him, but for everyone who had underestimated a quiet voice in the corner. And if this story made you realize that wisdom can come from the most unexpected places, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because the next story might just change the way you see the world, and yourself.